Hi, welcome to episode 27 of the Krishnamurti podcast with Sam Yogi. In this podcast, let us continue with the talk that J. Krishnamurti gave in Ommen, Holland on July 27, 1933. In fact, a little before where we left off yesterday to ensure continuity. J. Krishnamurti. If you are seeking neither of these, sensation nor security, then there is in you a deep longing to understand life itself, realizing that from this understanding alone can there be a new conception of morality and of action. But to fully grasp the significance of this, the mind must be free from the desire for security and sensation. This is one of the most difficult tasks to keep the mind and heart from conformity and accumulative knowledge, which becomes merely a safeguard against the ever changing present or against the future. The reserve fund of these safeguards creates the limited consciousness of the I. Between these protective safeguards and the movement of life, there must inevitably arise conflict. To escape from this conflict, the mind creates further security and illusions, getting more and more entangled and limited. Take the case of a wealthy man. He is afraid of the emptiness that would exist in his life if he lost his possessions. As he dreads this, he tries to make himself more and more secure by the continual attempt to increase his possessions. To free yourself from the pursuit of security and power, you mentally create its opposite. But in doing this, you are merely creating another set of securities, only calling it by different names. This opposite is nothing more than another form of security, even though it is called love, humility, service, following truth. So, what is K or Krishnamurti saying here? Krishnamurti or K explains that true understanding of life requires freedom from the pursuit of security and sensation. The mind's tendency to seek safeguards through conformity, knowledge, or ideals creates conflict and reinforces the limited sense of self. Even when one rejects security and power by pursuing their opposites, such as love, humility, or service, these two often become new forms of security, keeping the mind trapped and restricted. Okay, so let's continue with what K says next. J. Krishnamurti. To this new opposite, you try to be sincere, glorifying it as peace, humility, service, as opposed to security, power. You abandon a certain set of ideas, a certain group of concepts, and create new ones which become your security. And these you safeguard as carefully as the rich man guards his treasure, both by the group as well as by the individual. So you have changed, if this is a change at all, merely from one set of ideas to another with different names, but under the new covering, there are the same desires and hopes for security. To me, there is no such thing as security, and yet that is what almost everyone is constantly seeking, even though each one may disguise it by a different word. With conscious or unconscious desire for some kind of security, certainty, you come to listen to me. You take my words and build out of them the structure of your longing. Out of this contradiction, there arises confusion and the appearance of the negative quality of what I am saying. Okay, so what K said here can be, for better comprehension, summarized as follows. Even when people abandon old ideas like power or security and adopt new ones such as peace, humility, or service, they still cling to them as safeguards, treating them as a new form of security. Instead of wealth or power, which one abandons, one picks up service to humanity, social service, peace, humility, and clings to them as qualities, virtues, safeguards, treating them as a new form of security. This shift is only a change in labels, not in the underlying desire for certainty. Since people are unconsciously seeking security, they even turn teachings like case teachings into structures that serve this longing for security, which leads to confusion and a distortion of the intended message of Krishnamurti. Now let's continue with what K has to say next. For this reason, discover what it is you are seeking. If you find that you really want security, then go into it profoundly with your whole being completely. Then you will understand that there is no such thing as security. When you discover that, you may turn to the opposite. You may try deliberately to become insecure, which should only be another form of security. The more you delve into your security, the looser and looser it becomes. It has no substance. It would lose its grip on you, but you are afraid to let it because you dread the emptiness that may then come upon your mind and heart. So, this is where we end the talk for today. The talk continues and gets into a different arena next, which we will continue tomorrow. So, even though in a blog I said that in episode 27 we'll wrap up this talk given on July 27, 1933, we will wrap up this talk only in episode 28, which will be tomorrow. So, what did K say here? K urges self examination to see if one truly seeks security. By pursuing this desire fully, one realizes that security is an illusion without substance. However, even turning to its opposite, embracing insecurity, still amounts to another form of security. So the deeper one investigates, the weaker the hold of security becomes. But people resist letting go because they fear the emptiness that follows. So, to concisely understand what we have discussed so far, from where K started today to where he ended today on the pursuit of security and sensation, this is exactly what K said. K said, true understanding of life requires freedom from the pursuit of security and sensation, since the mind's effort to safeguard itself through conformity, knowledge, or ideals only creates conflict and reinforces a limited sense of self. In fact, this is how the sense of self or the self gets created, which is always acting in every individual, whether they are in the echelons of power or working for a foundation, including Krishnamurti foundations. The self is always acting, and it is the limited consciousness. Even when one rejects security and power in favor of new ideals like peace, humility, or service, these two become disguised forms of security, merely a change in labels without without altering the underlying desire for security, for certainty. This longing for security leads people to even turn teachings, case teachings, into structures that serve their craving, resulting in confusion and distortion. The only way forward is to examine directly what one is truly seeking. If it is security, then by fully exploring it, one eventually realizes that there is nothing like security. By fully exploring it, one eventually realizes its illusory nature. Yet letting go is difficult, for the collapse of security brings with it the fear of emptiness in the mind and heart. So the podcast ends here. We'll continue tomorrow with episode 28. Thank you. You have a nice day.